Iceberg models are great for lots of things, and it's a good metaphor. We can see what's above the surface, and we know 80% of the iceberg is beneath the surface. And in this case, we're talking about cultures. Cultures are deep-seated, pervasive and complex, and hence could be seen as not easy to change. Yeah, and maybe that's why sometimes cultures, we just float around in the culture that we arrive into. To be conscious about it and look to develop and change that takes a bit of effort and understanding some of these core concepts here. So we just walk through them. So the iceberg model, what it's showing us, and this is from, again, Edgar Schein, the artifacts, what sits on the surface of organizations. Any organization you walk into, there'll be symbols of the culture of the organization. Classic one is workwear. Big organizations may have some branded uniforms. And so, or process, visible things in a business which are not always clearly understood. Okay? Just because you're wearing a branded uniform, well, what does that mean? Is keep my personal clothes clean, or is it trying to portray a statement of some sort? So symbols, organization, and workwear processes, they're visible but not always clearly understood. This isn't really culture. It's part of it, but it's not what culture's about. And then beneath the surface now, this is the interesting pieces, the subtleties. Most organizations will have some conscious strategies. Could be displayed. Goals, philosophies, and conscious statements of what they want to happen. Again, not always visible, but can be. It can be in big posters, it can be in brochures, it can be in regular communications. And it's a way, it's called espoused values. These are values which are sort of given to an organisation. And you'll see them in big orgs on the wall, come down from the hierarchy, espoused values. They're there, but you can see them, but not always visible, and people taking note of.
And do you think those can be the culture that the leadership or the organisation actually wants?
It could be, because it's conscious at this stage. Yeah, somebody's made a conscious effort to bring in the strategy, the goals, or the philosophies. Conscious statements what they need to happen, and that tends to be the espoused values has come from somewhere else.
Yeah.
Okay, but if it has come from within, not necessarily has it been cascaded to the whole organisation. The organisation is not bought into it.
Yeah.
In some cases, not in all cases, but it can be. Yeah, and that's why sometimes they're not visible. There can be a chief executive, it can be a managing director, whoever has got these written down for their own personal benefits in a drawer somewhere. That's a really bad example. Or you've got somebody who's done this and that displayed on a beautiful display. Here's the values we want in our organisation. Here's the culture that we're looking to live in our organisation. But it's not being communicated to verbally, one-on-one, on a regular basis to really build and shape that culture.
So it's very superficial at that level.
Potentially, yeah, potentially.
Yeah.
So you'll find that in most organisations. You find artifacts and you'll find espoused values. But the core essence of culture is what really sits right beneath the surface, all these underlying assumptions. And we call this the unconscious behavioural blueprint, and the key to understanding why things happen as they do. So if we get to understand this, then we'll know why this is happening and we're not getting the performance that we necessarily need. Okay, so a leader, cultural understanding is essential to leaders if they are to lead. That's what they need to be looking at. Understand the culture. Is it right? Does it fit? And if it does, fine. If not, how do we look to change that? And the place that we start to change that is at this section called underlying assumptions. And then those espoused values can be ones which are cascaded and bought into, and yes, they fit into all the artifacts and all the symbols of the organisation.
I guess it's how you bring those espoused values to life on the day-to-day.
Yeah, it's those
behaviours,
day-to-day conversations.
Absolutely, because I guess that's the culture. And Sometimes you can observe certain cultures in certain organisations very quickly, particularly if you're not sort of within it.
Yeah.
So if you
That's
come in
an
from the
outsider, you
outside,
can.
yeah, because you can. Now you mentioned the artifacts, you can see the smart workwear and a bit of the identity and see the values on the wall. But is that what you're actually seeing day to day in the workplace?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, these underlying assumptions, we're going to link it now to 3Vs. We had a video on this last time round.